Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Communities Live here at Sheffield Live 93.2 FM. And we have filmmaker Menhaj Huda. Good afternoon.
Good morning for me. So,
Well, actually, I'm going to say it's good evening over here because it's 7 o'clock. So it's turned quite dark quite early today. So I want to say thank you for joining me today. I know it's a bit earlier than planned, but thank you for joining me. And I want to give us a bit of background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I grew up in the UK. I'm originally from Bangladesh. I grew up in the UK. Um, I was at college studying engineering at Oxford. I did very well in my studies. And while I was there, I started DJing. And it was a time in the late 80s, early 90s when house music was just arriving in the UK and it was like exploding. And I got very heavily involved in that scene. And made me kind of want to reassess what I wanted to do with my career. And the BBC were looking for people, and I applied for a job at the BBC, which kind of got my wheels turning in terms of TV, doing TV. And I got an interview, but I didn't get the job. And but I sort of started thinking about going into TV. And then that summer I graduated from university and ended up in the US with a work exchange visa. And I was staying with some friends in LA and got a job with the Fox TV studios. Um, and that was my real first taste of working in the industry. And I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew there was something. I had so much fun doing it, and the people that I met were really interesting and cool. Um, so I came back to London and got a job with Sky News as a runner. And that was the first time I walked into what's called an edit suite. And it's full of machines and edit equipment and computers, but also very creative. You put the whole image together. And so that was kind of my calling, really.
Right.
Um,
So go on.
I trained to become an editor and and then started editing. Started working on music videos because I was still doing my music and my DJ stuff. And then I came up with an idea for a show which was looking at the whole rave scene, what was going on in and around the UK. And that, by some miracle, got picked up by Channel 4. And so 4 years out of uni, I had my own TV show, which they wanted me to direct. So I started directing like very early on in my career without having gone to film school. And I spent like probably the first 5 years of my career doing non-scripted entertainment shows, youth shows, if you like, for Channel 4. And then I was also directing music videos and commercials at that time. And then I made a short film for Channel 4, Film 4, called Jump Boy, and that changed my career into scripted. And since then, I've gone on to do a bunch of TV in the UK. I made a movie called Kidulthood, which has done very well. And you may have seen, I won an award for that for as best debut director.
I have seen Godot.
And
It's a great film, by the way. So, and I mean, I've seen when first time I saw it was when I was in college, and it's definitely turned my life around. So I want to say thank you for that.
thanks. Yeah, it was kind of a passion project. I was determined to get that made, and it was definitely not an easy journey. But yeah, I'm just glad it came out as well as I had imagined. So it worked. Um, so since then, I've made a couple of other films. I've done a bunch of other TV, but I decided my future really was stateside. So I made the move to the US in 2017. And it's been a complete roller coaster of a ride, really, because we had a lot of work, then everything shut down for COVID,
Yeah.
then a lot of work again. I've been working on all sorts of stuff like um, The Flash, Batwoman, these TV shows. I
Wow.
made films. I made a film about Harry and Meghan. I made like three films about them for Lifetime. Um, yeah, it's just been, like I said, a whirlwind roller coaster. And then since the strikes, that was the last big sort of breaks being put on. Things have been really slow. So I've sort of been looking at doing my own projects and trying to do things that interest me. And this project came about because I got introduced to Kamal Khan, by a mutual friend of ours, Jimmy Akimbola, who's a well-known actor in the UK and now here as well in the US. Um, and yeah, just really interesting subject matter and very unique. And um, I thought it would get a lot of people talking. And so, yeah, I was very drawn by the the idea of the project, and then helped Kamal with the development of it, and then to get it made, basically.
I mean, I've seen the film, and it's a fantastic short film, by the way. And I mean, and I won't go back more in detail about that later on. I want to talk about your influences as well. I mean, who are your main influences? And also, if there was anybody that you could work with in the near future, who would it be and why?
Well, that's interesting because I feel like the directors that I really admire and enjoy their work, my work is kind of different to theirs. So I tend to do stuff that's work that's a bit more grounded, more gritty. So in that respect, um, you know, one of the films that really influenced me early on in my career was a French film called La Haine, um, directed by Matthew Kassovitz. Um, but I've always also been very drawn to very commercial stuff. So Tony Scott is like one of my favorite directors. And my goal now, really, I have a movie that I'm trying to get made here, is to sort of move more into that direction and try and make more commercial,
Yeah,
bigger films which work on a wider audience. I mean, even with Kidulthood, you can see that I've taken a subject matter that feels marginal,
yeah.
but made it in a very sort of mainstream way. We're using music and sort of cool editing styles and shots and stuff like that. And I think now that sort of that's kind of almost 20 years behind me, I've been working on all these like high-end TV projects here in the US. I'm now sort of trying to transition into doing something that's um, sort of bigger budget in that sense. But in terms of other directors that have influenced me, um, I think the films like Larry Clark's Kids is obviously a big influence. I thought that was amazing. Spike Lee, I think, is a great filmmaker. I think a lot of that, and I think John Singleton as well, Boys in the Hood, I think definitely influenced me. These films, which I watched, had real impact on me before I even knew I wanted to get into film, you know. So I think those are the main ones. And I think in terms of British directors, um, I'd say Guy Ritchie and Danny Boyle. In fact, I think if it hadn't been for Danny Boyle making Shallow Grave, I probably wouldn't have thought about going into scripted TV or film because I was very happy working in music videos and commercials at that time. And then when I saw that film, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of aimed at a younger audience. And so I could see myself being part of um, the filmmaking community in the UK if we're making films for a younger audience. Because before that,
Yeah.
I just wasn't connecting with um, the filmmakers that the British filmmakers, let's put it that way. I was influenced by American and European filmmakers, but not so much the Brits. But when Guy Ritchie and Danny Boyle came along, then I could see myself being part of that sort of group of filmmakers.
And I mean, I've got to ask as well. I mean, for anybody that wants to like break into this kind of industry with filmmaking and TV, I mean, what advice would you give to our listeners?
Well, I think obviously everyone has the option of going to a film school and learning how to, or studying. I wouldn't say learning, I would say studying film and the process of the filmmaking process. But for me, I was at a crossroads where I was about to go to film school, and um, after I trained to become an editor, because I felt like, okay, this is a career path that I'm definitely going to follow. And, I had good fortune to get a directing gig with my own show, which then essentially opened the doors for me to direct, without really knowing what directing was all about. So I kind of learned on the job. So that was one thing. But I think One of the experiences I had at very early stage was just making like music videos and stuff, and just going through that process from literally the concept to delivery and watching it being broadcast. That process and going through every single step of it as a like a I was editing and producing with a friend of mine who was directing and shooting. So I was getting to see and experience all of it. But the main point of it, from what my message to young people trying to get in is, even if you've studied film, is don't be like snobby about going in and working your way up
Yeah,
from the very bottom, right? When I was working as a runner, I knew nothing about film and TV,
yeah,
right? I had a degree from Oxford in engineering. So for someone like me to go down and work and as a runner showed everybody that I was committed to like wanting to learn. And then once you get to that point, like once you learn, how quickly you learn is down to you. So you pick
sure.
things up quickly. I knew that if you put me in a room with computers, I'm going to pick that stuff up really quickly. And so I kind of veered towards that and used my strength and my skill set to move up the ranks. But there's so many other aspects of um, filmmaking that you learn along the way, and people have different um, ways of coming into it, and they bring different skill sets. So people who work in the art department, are very different to the people who work in post-production, to people who work in the AD department, where it's all logistics and picture the transportation department.
Yeah,
Or if you want to be an actor, if you want to be in front of the screen, or if you're a writer, if you like words and creating, writing in itself is overlooked quite a lot of the time, but actually it's like the most important function or part of the process. So all of these aspects, you can get a taste for a little bit of everything. You find out very quickly what suits you and what you don't like, and then you focus on that as you move up. And working your way up, um, you build up a network of people that you've worked with, and if they see that you're good at something, they'll bring you along with them when they do their next thing, right? And if you're not getting on with people and you're not being, you have to analyze why that is, right? Because no matter how much, what amazing film school you go to, if people don't want to work with you, or there's something about your personality that they're not tuning into, then you've got to figure that out quickly, because this is a very collaborative industry and collaborative art, and um, there's not really much room for people that people don't want to hang out with or work with. So
Thank you, Menhaj, and thank you for sharing that with me. And I mean, I've seen the film. It's called Almost Home. It's a
yeah.
short film. It's around nearly 20 minutes, around 18 to 19 minutes. And I mean, and I've got to say, the way it was filmed, it was just like a big budget blockbuster film, just shortened down to 20 minutes. And I've got to say, I mean, the amount of work that was done in that 20 minutes. It's incredible.
Well, I tell you something, Chris. I've got to just let you know I've got a hard out at 11:30, so I got 5 minutes left
Right,
before
okay.
I jump off. Okay, so what I will say about how it all came together is that one of the advantages of having worked in the industry for so long is that you collect people who can also then bring other people along. And so we had a producer lady called Pamela Monroe, who herself was a veteran. She was in the Air Force before she entered the film industry.
Yeah.
And so when she and I met at the Directors Guild here, and she was curious to know what I was doing. And when I told her had a short film that had a military angle to it, she desperately wanted to get involved. And when she read it, she was like, I can help you. And so she actually connected us with people who had access to the Marines. And
Sure.
so, one of our crew members' sons was a Marine. He's in the shot behind me. And he brought, they managed to, it's not straightforward because, there's not like money being thrown around to do
Of
this
course.
kind of work. Everything's being done on favors, but we managed to organize ourselves and get this stuff this is what I got to tell you. Yeah, it looks like a big budget and everything squeezed into 20 minutes, but what's more astounding is it was done in 3 days.
Wow.
So it's like,
Wow.
which I was in a bit of a headspin when we finished it. I was like, oh, okay, how the hell did we get that done? But we did it. We managed it, and yeah, thank you for seeing that it looks and works as well it does.
And I mean, it's a great film, and I mean, I love to see let people see it as well. I mean, because it's definitely something that needs to be seen to be believed. I mean, and there's a lot of short films out there that needs to actually be seen as well. I think. I mean, so how can people get to see the film? I mean, is
So
it
right now we're doing a bunch of festival screenings. So it's going out. So watch out for a festival. But you can follow it. You can go check out almosthomethemovie.com or www.almosthomethemovie.com. You can check out where it's playing next. And then it's almost underscore home underscore movie on Instagram. So you can follow those to see where it's playing. And then once we've got, we're playing at an Oscar nominated, Oscar qualifying uh, festival in October up in Seattle. But it should be coming to Europe, I think, soon. We haven't really played a festival in Europe yet. I think actually they play in London, one of the festivals, but yeah, we're getting onto a roll of festivals now. And then so you should be able to see it there. And then once that's ended, we're going to be looking to put it on a platform where it's accessible to viewers.
so? Watch this space, ladies and gentlemen. And I understand you got a little very short time, so I am going to let you go after this question. What would you like to say to our listeners who is currently listening right now?
Um, yeah, I mean, I hope you get to see the film. I mean, the thing about the film that was really interesting to me is that it portrayed, for those of us in the Muslim community or South Asian, we grow up in the UK and the US and we live very normal lives and
Yeah.
very sort of mixed multicultural lives. But the portrayal of us on screen is very sort of stereotypical and negative a lot of the time. And so as soon as I see an opportunity to make a story that's has a positive or just normal, like just portraying a character as a regular guy, and in this particular story, he's not just a regular guy. He's actually a soldier who's putting his life on the line for his country, in this case, the United States. And I think that's kind of an eye opener for a lot of audience members because they're like, oh, that those people exist. Of course they do. And so it's an opportunity to do that and actually to get people talking about this stuff and opening the dialogue and making people shift their perceptions about how, society is and who we are as a people.
I mean, I've got so many questions I would love to have asked you today, but unfortunately, we just quickly went out of time. And I want to say thank you, Menhaj, for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I want to wish you all the best on your film and good luck in the near future as well.
Cheers. Thank you, Chris,
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
too. Bye.
Bye.